Hey everyone, it's John, and today we're going to continue on the BGP video series. So in today's video, what I want to discuss is BGP communities. Now, what are communities? Communities are effectively tags which you can use to influence routing policy. Now, there are four well-known communities which I'm going to discuss in a later video, but today I just want to discuss communities more generally. So I thought the best way to approach this was to simply concoct this little scenario, and you can see how communities play out and see how we actually can control the routing decisions just using community tags. So down the bottom here we've got AS14, which is IPvZero Solutions. This could be a company of any kind. We own this company, this is our company, and we're going to be advertising our network to our ISP so it can be found globally, which is going to be 140.140.140.0/24. And as you can see, we have two ISPs which are connected to. On the left hand side, we've got AS23, that's ISP1, and it's going to act as our primary internet connection. This is our high speed internet connection. On the right hand side, however, we've got this ISP2, and it's just really a backup. The speed on this internet connection is very slow. It's a cheap connection. It's really just used as a kind of failover. We don't want to be inviting traffic through this link. We want all our traffic to come through the high speed connection. Now, up at the top here, we've got AS89. That's just going to be a general transit AS out in the internet. And on the right hand side, we've got this random company with just anything basically, but they're also connected to ISP2 but not ISP1. Okay, so what we've got here is a high speed connection and a low speed connection. So if you remember from the previous videos, we did some traffic engineering, and if we wanted to invite traffic over this link rather than this link, we could use AS path prepending, because these are two different ISPs, and that can help influence inbound traffic coming towards us. Now let's say, and this is common, that the ISP is actually filtering AS path prepending because they don't want you spamming out 50 or however many path prepends just so the AS path becomes artificially long. They might say, listen, we're going to filter that, we don't want you to do that. So what options do you have? You don't want the traffic to come through here, and especially if you think about it, let's say someone from a random company wants to access your website or whatever you're hosting here, okay? They're connected to ISP2, so they send their traffic out here. Now, the BGP decision is not going to be on like a general IGP metric of like bandwidth, the way OSPF would be. What it's going to do, it's going to see the AS path and just say, okay, well the AS path, the quickest way is through here, isn't it? It's just going from one AS to this AS, rather than go the more circuitous route of over here, 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 and here. But actually, this path, despite looking longer and going through more routers and whatnot, can be all high speed links, and now especially this link is high speed, of course, rather than getting through maybe some cheap, or I don't know, maybe it's a T1 connection, not very fast, whatever it might be. Okay, but it's not desirable to be inviting all your traffic over this link. We don't have AS path prepending to us because this ISP is just filtering it and it's not acting on it anyway. So what options do we have? Okay, what we would do here is you would physically call up the ISP. I mean, actually pick up the phone and communicate with them. You talk to them, and you would say something on the lines of, can you give me your community filter list effectively, or your community policy list? And they would send you like an Excel spreadsheet, and it would have all these communities, all these numerical values, and corresponding routing policies. Now, I've marked up a very small version of this. This would obviously be a lot longer, but it would look something like this. So they would send you this, and effectively, because, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, what you might say to them before that is, listen, we can't do AS path prepending, you are blocking it. So how about you change your local preference to 130 or to 40, whatever it may be, for me. And the ISP says, no, I'm not going to do that because that's just, it's too hard to control routing policy. I mean, try to map all that. If every single customer wanted to do that, then they would need to have an individual policy, an individual BGP policy for every single customer. Now this could get very, very messy, very hard to troubleshoot, and just not very good practice. So the way to get around that, like I say, you would phone them up and they would give you a list of communities. Now you can actually get that desired effect by using the communities. So all you would do would be is you would look at the community list and look at the policy. Now we want the policy to be less desirable to go through this link here. So really, if we set the local preference to 50 rather than the default of 100, this would make this link undesirable, and therefore if it was being advertised throughout this other ISP, this ISP could get to over this link here, this path here rather. Okay, so like I say, we want to influence the local preference, but just phoning them up and asking them, listen, arbitrarily, can you just change this for us? They're going to say no. What they want is to use this nice template, and we can signal to them by using community values to say what part of the template we want them to apply to us. Okay, now this might sound a little bit abstract and obscure, but again, once you see it in practice, you should see what I mean. So let's just go with this just now, okay? So what I'm going to do is first we're going to advertise our network. Okay, so this is us just now, and we're going to let the world know about our 140/140/24. So we'll do network 140/140/140 and the mask is a /24. So let's put that into BGP. Okay, so we've now advertised that into BGP. And if we go to here, let's see if this has got it. Okay, so the next hop, as you can see, is going to be 144501. So it's going to go on through this path effectively, clearly. But remember, we want to discourage routing on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that community list they sent us, this Excel spreadsheet, and say, okay, we want them to set their local preference to 50 for us on this link. So what we need to do is send that prefix, but send it with the value tag or the community tag 4510. Okay. Now what I will say is, when you're doing this, BGP communities have got an older format and a newer format. The newer format is much more readable, and if you type in IPBGP format, you're going to see that. Because if you do write it in the way of an AS number followed by the policy, it's going to convert into a much longer number and it'll be hard to read. So IPBGP format will let you see it in the simple format. So that's a little tip for you to do that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to go in here and we're going to create a prefix list. So the IP prefix list and just call it list, and we're going to permit the network. Okay, so we're going to do 140/140/140. This is the prefix which we are targeting to attach the community value. So I'm going to do a route map, and we'll call it what we call it. Just call it John. Permit 10. And we're going to match the IP address in the prefix list called list, which is the 140/140/140. And we're going to set the community, and here it is. Now, like I say, this would be the old format. See these kind of long numbers here, and this is the new format. Okay, so we're going to have the autonomous system number and the number that's going to be the format that will be used. So like I say, wait there now, did I close that wee graphic? Yeah, okay, so 4510, that's what we're going to set it to, because we want the local preference to be 50, so we'll set this prefix to be 4510. Okay, so 4510. And just do a route map, John, permit 10, and we'll exit out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do router BGP 14, and we're going to send that to our neighbour here, which is 144502. Okay, so neighbour 144502 route, route map John out. Okay, now what we also need to do is communities are not sent by default. Okay, So what we need to do is also tell it to send the community value. So we're going to advertise that prefix, okay, with that new community value. Now, like I say, we phone up them and say, listen, we want this policy. They're going to apply this policy on their inbound interface. So they're going to have a bunch of communities. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'll just make this up. We need to use a community list. So we'll do an IP community list, and we'll just call this one, we'll make it a standard one. And we'll call this one P1 for policy 1, okay? Just keep it simple. And what we're going to do is we are going to permit and actually permit the community value. So in this case, it's going to be 4510. Okay, so 4510 is number 1. And we'll have policy 2, just call that P2, and just make the next community 45, whatever it is, 4520. And P3 would be 4530. So these are all these values, okay? Right, so now I'm going to do is create a route map, and we'll just call this one policy. This is going to be the policy template. And what we'll do permit 10. And what I need to do is do match community, and we need to match the community name here. So, okay, so we'll match on P1, which is going to match the tag 4510. So we'll match community P1, okay? And we're going to set the local preference to be 50. This is our template. Okay, and we'll do a route map up policy permit 20, and we will match the community P2. Now P2 is 4520, and that will be set the local preference to 120. Route map policy permit 30 match community. Now this would be a very long list, and it would be a template. You'd have this exact list for every customer. This is not just unique to me, I'm just writing it here for you to see, but this would already be devised by them before they send this list out to us. So 4530, so that would be, we're going to do a bit of AS path prepending on this one. And we'll do set AS path prepend last AS, and it was 2, I think, we're prepending twice. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll just do a route map policy permit 40 to stop the filtering. Okay doke, so we've got this route map. Okay, so we've got all these policies. So if somebody marks if they set the prefix which they've advertised, we advertised it with the community value of 4510. 4510 will match our P1 community list, and because of that, the local preference will be set to 50. If we mark the route with 4530 instead, it would be path prepended on their end by 2 values. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just attach that route map to the neighbour. So we'll do router BGP, and we're in ISP2, so 45, and we're going to match it to the neighbour here, which is 144501, 144501, and route map policy in, okay? And then we'll do a clear IP BGP soft. Okay, now look at that. Suddenly, the local preference for this route is 50. You see that? Show IP BGP. So we as a company, so let's just review this, okay? We as a company have advertised this prefix. We've advertised it out to this ISP and this ISP. We have thus contacted this ISP here and said, send us your list of policies, okay? So we know what to tag. We have looked at the list of policies because we want the local preference to be 50. And just phone them up and asking them to arbitrarily change it, they will not do. They'll have this standard policy and say, listen, if you send this with a tag, it will automatically filter on that or match on that, and you'll get the desired effect. We have said we wanted 50, so we've matched that prefix with the community value 4510. Okay, so we've sent that prefix out of this interface with 4510, and we've got the policy inbound on here to match that. So if we look at this, and we do a show IP BGP 140, what we're going to see is it's there, okay? The community value is 4510, and because of our route map, 4510 matched P1, remember, and our 4510 matched P1 there, and as you can see on the route map, P1 makes the local preference set to 50, okay? So even if this ISP was filtering AS path prepending, we can still influence routing policy from within them by sending them tags which match their policies. So we can say, listen, treat the traffic this way according to how you mark it, okay? So let's have a look at the desired effect. So we've now got, what I'm going to do is I'll just advertise, I'll advertise this into BGP just to keep this simple. Oh, conf D, and we'll just make interface loop back 8, and we'll just do all the 8s. Okay, and the router BGP 567 neighbor, and we'll just put that into BGP. Okay, oh, what did I do there? I did neighbor again. That was silly. BGP 567 network, that should have been. Okay, so we've advertised the 8 network in. Let's just see, we've got it here. Yep. Okay, so now we've got this random company, and they're going to try to reach our website, and like I say, they happen to use the same ISP as we do, number 2, but they don't use number 1. Okay, so with normal AS paths, the shortest path would be through this link, but we just want this cheap link, or backup link. We don't want to be inviting traffic over it unless we really have to. So what we've done is here, we have discouraged this link by setting the local preference to 50, so the default 100 will be favoured. So when this customer sends it to their ISP, the ISP is not going to send it this way, it's going to send it the long way. So let's just check that out, okay? So let's do a trace. We'll do a trace 8. We'll do an extended one rather, and we'll trace it to 140 to 1, and this also addresses all the 8s. Oh, do you know what? We need to clear BGP first. Clear you. Oh, wait there now. I'll just change that a wee second. What interface are we on? Just bounce this interface first. Okay, so show IP BGP 140. Right, okay, so that's what I should have been seeing here. Okay, so we've got the route here, and as you can see, this is the 140 route, okay? So the 140 route, the initial path is 50. It's been changed to 50 now, and the other path is at the default of 100. Now you can see the other path is the best path, okay? That's that one there, and it's going through 45, 45, 45, 2, which is 45, 45, 45, 2, rather than the 1445, you see that? Just go back to that. The 1445 has got a local preference of 50 now, and the other one has got its default of 1, and it's going that way. So let's just check that again. Do that again. Now that's all working, and the protocol is IP, of course, and this also addresses 8. Okay, so now this person is going to, now we've implemented that policy, random company is going to try to get to our whatever it is, whatever we're serving, and we'll just see the way it goes, and you can see the path it's taken. Okay, so even though it's directly connected to the same ISP as us, This ISP is taking it over the longer path, okay? So they're connecting to here, it's going through here, it's going over 45, 45, 45. It's going 4589.02. It's going over the 89 path here, you can see it here. 2389, which is there obviously, and it's going over 23, 22, 23, 23, 23, and then it's going over 1423.01, which is our high-speed internet connection. You see that? So we are still utilising our very fast, expensive, high-speed connection rather than the cheap backup slow connection here, even though this would ordinarily go this way. But by the use of communities, we have signalled to the ISP to influence the ISP's policy over the prefix we're advertising, and because of that we can actually influence the direction of how random company gets to our network via its own ISP. Okay, so that is the end of this video on communities. The next one is going to be on well-known communities, which is a wee bit different. It's the same kind of topic, it's the same thing. There's just a couple more, there's 4 more things we need to implement, and that'll be discussed quite heavily in the next video. Okay doke, so I'm going to wrap it up here and try to keep it as short as possible, and that's the end of the video. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.